Will Steele, who's going to do some wonderful demonstrations of VR and 360 for our World of New Innovation session track. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, HP and AMD, for sponsoring this track. Will, welcome to Avid Connect. Take it away. You have some great technology you showed me a few weeks ago, and good luck.
Thank you. Again, I'm William Steele, CEO of WheresMyMedia. Today I'm demoing our platform that is primarily used now for AR, VR, 360 content workflows. But one of the things that we've done that's a little bit different is right now, these immersive content workflows tend to be in their own silos. So you need, whether it's a Unity guy or somebody that knows stitching and how to do it, use a 360 video plugin to be able to edit. What we've done is kind of bridge that gap so you can utilize existing creative professionals in the immersive content production workflow and work from those within the same ecosystem. And, oh, there we go, okay. So this is our media management platform, so media management and workflow platform. So it's got some basic things in terms of folder management and keeping track of all your assets and metadata. Where we're going to start actually is not with 360 video, but with some 360 images. So one of the things that we can work with here is, you'll see over right here on the right, that's the video player, which also supports imagery, 3D objects, and some of other functionality we'll get into. So here we're going to pull up a 360 image. This was used on a real estate project, and we're able to pan in the space, go full screen, and view it. So one of the neat things is this is all built on WebVR, which means it works on any device. So you can use it on desktop, on mobile, on a headset with like a Gear VR, on just commodity hardware and software. It requires no rendering. So here we're just going to add a note. And so one of the cool things about notes, taking notes and making comments in here is that you can position it in the 360 space. So in the virtual reality space that you create on what's called your canvas here, the image is the canvas, and we're placing some text in that particular area. And what happens is, once we pin that, now as we move, when we can make the comment, but now when we move, those comments stay positioned in the VR space wherever we have them put them. And we can do this not only with images, but we can also do this with video. So you can see here, we're going to pull up a video in a second. This is a video I shot actually during America's Cup in New York a couple of years ago. It's a 360 video on my sailboat in New York Harbor. And I figured it'd be some fun video for this instead of boring work stuff. So what we're going to do is, you have a few different options. You can look at your shares. This is a public share, so you can very quickly and easily share content from the system. You have to create a public share because you're working on a project that is might be sensitive to people viewing it. You don't want to study content just flying around there. So it allows you to keep track of what shows you have out. And you can also post to Twitter, Facebook as well, but you have to have a public share in order to do that. So it makes it a very easy way to build it. Make notes and comments in the 360 space, then you can share it and send it and get feedback back. So we have a few different modes. You can also overlay images and logos. I don't like that image, so we're going to switch to image. WheresMyMedia logo. And as I move my viewport, your viewport is whatever's in your field of view. That image is going to stay within that field of view. And then we can change the alignments, the size, or the scale. We're going to try to find out what went, probably went behind our head somewhere. There we go. So now that's all in reference to wherever we're looking. So if we change our view, it's going to stay in that exact same space in our field of view until we pin it. So we're going to move around a little more. Let's see if we can get that. Unfortunately, this is a video, so I can't force myself to go any faster here. We're going to position that a little smaller, I think, right above Manhattan skyline. And we're going to pin that, and see, once we pin it again, it's going to stay right in the VR space. And I can do that as well. And we're working on adding image tracking, so we'll allow the banner or advertisement or whatever. So this will be used for theoretically if you want to find where you're going to put product placement or banners or advertising. This isn't necessarily for post-production. This is during the production process. You can block out where you might want things to go. And then that would be finished in whatever editing system or platform you're using. So now we're putting in a 3D object here. It's another sailboat. Looks like it's on a collision course for my boat. Luckily it's virtual, it's not real. And again, we can adjust the scaling, move it around. This supports any number of 3D object models. Right now, I think there's like 8 to 10 different ones that we support. And again, this is all in a web browser. There's no rendering, this is all real time. So if I add something in my VR scene here, it's all going to, it's going to be immediate. When I make a change, somebody on the other end who reviews the project is going to see it immediately. If I share it, you'll see any changes I make. And one of the other kind of cool things that we do have in this is there's a director mode. And it's not something I could really demo here, but I can kind of explain it. What director mode allows you to do is allows you to think of like a shared edit session. If you're normally, again, we're trying to use ideas of traditional content workflows. So if you're in a shared edit session, you might have somebody else far away viewing the project. What you can do is you can send links out, and whoever's viewing that project will be able to see all the things that you're doing. So if you play the video, they'll see it playing from the same point that you're viewing it. They'll see any content that's in that VR scene. Literally see everything that you're seeing, and it's real time. So if I make a change, I can then pass off control off to any of my viewers. And it could be one other person, it could be 10 other people. And that has another implication, which is kind of important, is that when you're working with immersive content, a lot of the stuff is meant to be distributed and consumed in a headset at some point. It might be a Gear VR headset, it might be an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive. What's nice about the director mode is it allows you to work with your client, and they can just have cheap commodity hardware. They can have a Google Cardboard or a Gear VR. So you send them a link, they pop in a headset, and you're seeing exactly what you're seeing. They're seeing exactly what you're seeing. So it's easier to control and modify these things, obviously on a desktop with all the controls here. Your client doesn't need to deal with that. They can just be in the headset, and you can walk them through the scene as you're getting it. And then instead of sending, emailing a YouTube link or a video link, and then them trying to use points of reference in the video to reference the comments, because now you're dealing with a whole different spatial view. They can see what you're doing in real time, and they can give you feedback in real time. So those 12 modifications that might have taken 2 days could take 20 minutes, which is a huge savings of time. A lot of people have said, well, I have people that do all these things for me. Well, that's great. I mean, we're not pumping out a ton of immersive content right now, but give it some time, and we're going to be pumping out a lot more, and we don't want to be able to use the resources you have in more of a converged workflow. So what you're seeing here is the comment list here. So if you click on one of those comments, it's going to take you to that point in the video, as well as, so in this case, the mark in and mark out is the same. But with these comments, you can set a different time in or mark in and a different mark out. And what that will allow you to be able to use those later on if you want to make rough cuts and edits, which we'll get to in a little bit. Again, this is all, this is all web-based. So once you're there, so if you have a client that says, oh, I made this note comment, and they just click on it, they take you right to it. It really limits the communication barrier over a distance. Obviously, like any other platform, you can add metadata, various, all sorts of metadata for searchability. There's also a workflow system, so if you want to trigger various workflows based on metadata, maybe you want to set off a review and approve process that's specific to a client or delivered to an FTP. All those things can be set up on the back end to kind of become an easy button point and click. So one of the things you're seeing here is you've got your different layers. So that would be your text or comment layer. Your main camera, which is everything that you're viewing, your image 3D model layer. What that does is anything that's within right here, any of these controls, will all relate to the layer that you've got selected. That is also important because of when you're dealing with immersive content, particularly VR video, you have, when you're dealing with VR video, you have your particular horizon, and depending on how it was shot, your horizon probably won't be set up correctly in the very beginning. And one of the advantages of this is you can start off with a really quick stitch. You can take those multiple cameras. Most software has a quick stitch feature, which is faster than real-time processing. And when you do that, you can generate a quick proxy, upload it with all the different camera angles, and you can begin the process immediately. The way that we've used this with clients are filming in the field, uploading over a cellular connection, so they need to generate a really quick proxy, get it up there, and have their staff begin working on it right away instead of waiting until a day for all this footage to render a high-quality render, when you can start working on it without those high-quality renders and focus that a little further down the line in post. Let's see. We've got a bunch of different options up at the top here. So, you can export, you can zip things up if you want to zip folders up and package them, transcoding. The alias allows you to put it in a different folder. All kind of general things that you normally have in a system like this. You can, as well as send it out to Twitter. Again, that needs to be publicly shared for you to be able to tweet it. I actually built it because I got annoyed by not having a good way to be able to actually send out my own tweets and Facebook videos when I shoot 360 video. Sometimes I just want to send out really quick and have an easy way, so that made it really easy to just tweet it right from the system. Also, if you're used to, so one of the things that we have in with immersive content is, one, you have all these different cameras. So that creates another level of organization, which is very common in traditional video workflows. Likewise, you need fast uploads. So one of the things that you'll see here is we built our own accelerated file uploader. So it's like similar to like Aspera, which is why we're able to go out in the field and have a client begin working on filming immersive content in over a single cellular data connection, 4G connection. They're able to achieve very fast upload speeds and get it into our platform so they can begin working on it. Because all this time is money at the end of the day. I'm sure everybody knows that. So what this is an asset package. So you see at the top, we've got the multi-cam renderer, which is a proxy, and then all the other cameras that went along with it. So as you go down the road and you need to modify that stitching or do more rendering, you have that available as you need it. And it pops off transcode right away to create a proxy. We integrate with a few different transcoding platforms or bring your own. And you can see these are the names here. This is however we name them, and then that's the range right there. Just going across the tabs here. So we'll add some more metadata for fun. And again, the metadata can automatically trigger on different workflows. And this is another kind of neat feature. Again, this is called Media Mail, and what that allows you to do is send off media emails. They basically just come in as an email. You've got different levels of security and sharing. It allows you to share 360 videos. Again, this is all not just for 360 video. It's also for virtual reality scenes. It's also for non-immersive content. So if you just got HD video you need to send out. You can send it out, you can track it, you can set an expiration date, you can set multiple formats, you can lock it to the recipient computer. This is actually one of the first features we ever had like 10 years ago, which was to be able to send out content and have it securely shared to recipients, and you didn't want them to post it on YouTube. You can lock it down to the recipient computer. So you send it to 10 people, they all get a unique link, you can track that link, and they can't, if you don't want them to, you can restrict them from downloading it or posting it anywhere else. Completely without passwords, without having an account. And we're going to send that out and just kind of give you an idea of what one of these media mails looks like. And you don't have to send in a separate media mail for traditional non-immersive content. You can send out the same email for immersive and non-immersive content in the same one. And we believe that as we move forward in creating immersive content, you're going to see a lot more convergence between campaigns. We're already starting to see that. You're going to see mixed reality content, which means you might have standard, you might have HD content embedded in the VR experience. Again, this is an option to post to Facebook or Twitter. So if you want to be able to do that, you can do that. You can give recipients the ability to do that right from within the media mail itself. So there's an awful lot of functionality outside of just the logging into the asset management system. Going back to the media management aspects, you can set up multiple user accounts, have different levels of sharing, share specific folders, all things that you would expect to see in a traditional media asset management system. And that's just an email browser. And from there, once you sent it, you can track it, so you can see your sent media mails and go through and see, did somebody click on it, did they download it, what did they do? You can clone it. You can immediately expire it if you're like suddenly realize there's some kind of talent issue. You can expire it right away, so it's not going to be sitting out there in the interwebs for people to do things with. Just some tracking information. It gets pretty granular, and we can set different methods of reporting. Again, searching. This is a media management system, so you should be able to search. It's actually a story. This is not VR, this is just regular content, just showing that it also works like regular content, making notes and comments, and all these other features. So a friend of mine just sailed down to Puerto Rico right before the storm. They survived after they got there. Let's see, here we go. That's just an example of a link. So you can, if you see this little anchor or this little link icon, that just means it's posted in multiple places. So you can look at finding aliases. Sometimes people like to have, you might have shared media within the same projects, or different shared media within different projects. So here we go back to the notes again. This is an example. You can see that we're putting together a little timeline. It's called Media Bin. What that allows you to do is it allows you to stack together multiple pieces of content. You can do this again for 360 video, or you can do it with, you can render out VR. You can also use traditional video content as well, and take your notes and comments, anything that has a little scissors next to it, has a mark in and mark out, and then you can drag and drop that onto your media in your media bin, and then save that bin for later. You can render it and export it to any number of formats that you might need, be it ProRes 422 or DNX HD or H.264. You can quickly export that timeline right there. It's meant for, not for post, it's meant for, during your production, so, rough cuts and edits, so you can send out quick preview reels and just keep that production process rolling instead of having to wait for things to render, for people to do things all the time. And one of the other kind of neat things, I think this is actually almost the end of the video demo, that you can also do with this is, this has voice control. So if you've got somebody on the other end that's, that wants to give you feedback, and maybe they're in a headset, so you're your client, you send a link, and they want to do it in a headset. They don't have to go out of the headset they're in and out of the headset. They can just put on the headset, they can make notes and comments, position the headset wherever they want it, and speak, they can comment, and then they can drop it as a pin, and that will stay in the VR space, and then you can see that later on and logo in the system as a comment. So again, it's to make this process easy. Likewise, you can use that, the shared process, the director mode, to be able to just use it for your own use. If you want to be able to see what it's going to look like right away in a headset. Again, normally this kind of stuff would be done in a higher end HTC Vive and Unity. And you're still going to need those people to work on these workflows, but you can do a lot of the process yourself in a web browser. So if I want to, I've got my Gear VR or my Google Cardboard on my phone, I can send myself a link. I can start making some changes in the VR scene, and I can immediately see what that's going to look like. So I just pop on my headsets, it's in director mode, and hit play, and now I'm seeing everything that I did. So it gives you a very quick kind of review and improve process, both for yourself and for your clients. And I think that's about it for the actual demo. I think that went a little quicker than I anticipated, but I can open it up for Q&A at this point.
You said it does a quick stitch. I'm not quite sure how you got your linear.
Right.
Your 6 cameras.
So we don't do the quick stitch. We kind of decided not to focus so much on stitching because of most cameras now are doing onboard stitching. However, the onboard stitching isn't always very, isn't of the highest quality, and also usually have to, you can do something called a quick stitch in a lot of these pieces of software to just kind of render out something really fast. And then you can begin working on, because you want to focus on the story. All the stuff in post can still be rendered, and you keep track of the original files, and you can do the final post later on. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
Well, what are you making with this? Scaling video and what's the...
No, so...
the stories and how you...
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely do that. So, an example of one recent project we worked on, it was actually for a pharmaceutical company, and they were doing they wanted to do a video which demonstrated what it would be like to have a degenerative eye disease. And part of that is filming. You know, they didn't have a huge budget. Part of it is filming in location, outdoors. They had a kind of a small crew, and they wanted to be able to go out and film in 360. And then they wanted to be able to start working out right away. So what we were able to do is using like the accelerated file uploader for these large files that we're putting up, and all the multi-files for the different cameras that are going up, we can get up right away. So somebody's on site doing a quick stitch, they're uploading with all the different camera angles and getting it up there, and within probably 20 minutes of filming a particular scene, we're already uploading our cuts. And then people back in the office or wherever they happen to be are already making reviews and making notes and comments and rough cuts and sending it off to the client. So normally that process would have waited to the end of the day to get all the footage somewhere, and then the next day you're probably going to be starting the collaboration process, which is a headache in and of itself. So this, what normally would have been could have been a week-long project, so 2 days. Any other? Oh, yes.
What do you see someone in this business as the development of this medium?
So I'm noticing.
I work in frontline. We have a VR department, and it's very sparse so far. Documentary. I'm just wondering what you see as a sort of a
So where I see it right now, so immersive content, so the entire immersive content ecosystem, whatever you're creating, there are some outfits that are doing more of this production, and a lot of them come from traditional production backgrounds, and now they're starting to get into it. But they have the people working in these silos, and we're starting to see, although there hasn't been that explosion of immersive content yet, but it is steadily growing. And just like, if I talked to somebody 20 years ago on a platform for traditional video editing, and you showed them a platform like this, like, well, we have enough people to do all this stuff, so if I need something, I just hire another guy. And at the current volume of immersive content creation, it's not at scale enough where everybody needs something like this, but some of those outfits who are trying to add in some of that production, if you can lower the time and effort it takes to go do that production, they can fit it more easily in. And I am starting to see those conversations where I had 2 years ago, where they said they didn't need this. They're starting to have some headaches. And probably one of the most immediate pain points and headaches is actually communicating with the client. So trying to be able to go back and forth with the client and understand what they want, because they don't really know what they want until they see it. So you have a very quick way to be able to make these changes. This is a great way for now to be able to interface with the client. When you get to a point where there's enough immersive content being created that you're creating, and you have that, do I hire more people? Do I double my team so I can double my output, or can I use some software, keep the same team size, and quadruple my output?
Yeah. Who are those people? Who is this emerging force in immersive content?
You mean the people that are creating it?
Yeah.
So a lot of them are traditional. So a lot of them are traditional production and post-production houses that are getting involved in it. There are a few major names that are creating.
What is it? I guess is my question.
What is that?
I mean, when you say production houses are getting involved, I'm trying to think about the content. I'm trying to think about how this applies to great storytelling.
Yeah. So so there are a few. For now, mostly I think I'm seeing it mostly used in advertising.
Okay.
Now this can also be used to be able to create content that's connected to video gaming, and a lot of this advertising content. If somebody is doing a immersive content push alongside it, there is a lot of crossover between the message that's going out and the content that's going out. So having something where it's easier to be able to use a tool for both those purposes, for them it makes it a lot easier. It lowers the barrier of entry to be able to work on a project like this. And that's why right now you're seeing a lot of immersive content. It's kind of expensive to produce because it requires a lot of people, and that's what we're trying to address. Oh, yes?
I see you were bringing in models. Are those like 3 Studio Max and Maya models and so forth like that?
Yes.
Do that? All right.
Yeah, so there's a list of 8 or 10 different object models, 3D object models that you can.
File formats.
Yeah.
Bring in, okay.
Yep.
Because we're doing a lot of that in the AR space. That we just want to pre-place like synthesizers or mixing boards or something.
Yeah.
if we could share that across multiple contents to say, this is the one I want or something.
So we're working actually on Unity integration, which is probably one of our next things. So you can build export something from Unity,
Yeah.
rate it, you have plugin right then, and then you can start and use this to house also like your 3D object, all your 3D models and objects and things. Any other questions? All right. Guess that's it. Oh, no, okay.
No, I guess it's also the same question this gentleman asked about that. Who's producing VR content right now today? Hands up.
Row 6 behind the boat.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting problem, right? Because the venue for VR content, or immersive content, we're doing VR, so immersive content is such that basically it's a digital platform, non-broadcast, obviously. And even on the digital platform, where are your clients publishing?
So, I mean, there's actually a number of different, I mean, obviously, you've got your, you've got YouTube and Facebook for publishing. You've got Little Stars and others, so there's a couple different online portals. A lot of even, we work with some news stations as well in terms of they're creating immersive news pieces. So that's another place, and they'll usually post it on Facebook. Is usually where they're going to end up posting it. Referring to broadcasts, one of the things I'm also involved in is trying to bring immersive content to ATSC3. That's another project. So if you're familiar with the ATSC3 specification, it's improved. We believe it will be possible to also be able to push immersive content over broadcasts TV in the future. That's still a little ways away, but that will be able to be done. Another area where we're seeing more immersive content come into play actually is sports. I'd say probably there's probably three main silos or areas of content creation: advertising, news, I think, is the other big one, and then also sports is another one. Sports is a little bit in its infancy, but I do think it's growing. Any other questions from this side of the room? All right. All right. Going. Gone. All right.